What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It's Wednesday. We're going to talk a little bit about the Sword and Shield era, and there were a couple things that happened over the past week in terms of sealed product and also some of the individual cards and some of these sets that I think are important things for you guys to know. So we'll get to that in this video, but I want to start off with something serious. So if you can bear with me here for a minute or two, I'd really appreciate it. And as someone who just got married, who's recently married, haven't even gone on my honeymoon yet, picking your life partner is probably going to be one of the most important things you do in your entire life. If you guys don't marry the right person, whether you're a man or woman, it can really affect you. You know, it can negatively impact your life. You might get divorced. You'll probably be unhappy. And ultimately, that also influences where you're going to get to in life, how you're going to succeed. So choosing the right person to be with is incredibly important. And for a lot of you guys out there, I know you're struggling with this. You don't have a life partner yet, but I do have good news for you. In this video, I am going to talk about the hottest single on the market out there right now, and that is Derek Peters' mother. So Derek left me a comment on my video yesterday, and I said, what the hell? I'll take it on. So I reached out to Derek yesterday, and I realized that he hasn't seen his father in about 30 years. He left to go get milk and never came back. But throughout the hardship in his life, he's had a backbone, which was his mother. She is an amazing cook. She is super easy on the eyes, and she is single and ready to mingle. And actually, I asked Derek if it was okay if I could get a photo and share it on my YouTube videos with you guys, just in case anyone is interested. I know it's not the best photo. The lighting's a bit off, and she doesn't have too much makeup on. She's getting ready to go to bed, guys. But she is single, Derek Peters' mother. If you want to get in touch with her, reply to Derek Peters here. Maybe he'll reach out on this video and you guys can get in touch. But this is really what YouTube is about, right? We're not here to invest in Pokemon. We're not here to talk about the economics of cardboard. I'm here to play matchmaker for you guys and make sure that you're living your best life. So thank you for bearing with me as we start the video. Now, if you aren't interested in Derek Peters' mother, but you are interested in tracking your collection, look no further than Shiny, today's video sponsor. You guys already know Shiny is a mobile app that helps you track your Pokemon investments, whether that's English, Japanese, or simplified Chinese. They cover other games as well, like Yu-Gi-Oh!, Magic, One Piece, Disney Lorcana, Sorcery, and now Gundam. I'm serious when I say this. I genuinely believe Shiny is the best app out there compared to their competitors. And I love the fact that they're trying to update their data more frequently than everyone else, updating twice per day from sources like TCG Player, eBay, Price Charting, and Card Market. And the best part about the app is that it's absolutely free. So I'll leave links to the Google Play and App Store in the description and pin comment down below. And thank you to Shiny for sponsoring the video. All right, so now that we've got all the exciting stuff out of the way, we should talk a little bit about Sword and Shield. We'll start with Sword and Shield Base. Actually, it's doing its thing. Sword and Shield Base, slowly moving a couple boxes per week. I will say, when I went to do the sales volume this week on Sword and Shield Base, I think there's only like 2 or 3 sales. But today, on the 24th, there's already been, I believe, 3 sales. So next week, when I do the update, I imagine the sales volume is going to be a little bit higher on Sword and Shield Base, and maybe someone today and over the next couple days are buying out the boxes. So if you're curious, that might be something that you want to pay attention to over the next 48 hours. Rebel Clash, same sort of situation as Sword and Shield Base, not a ton of sales volume, but it is slowly moving up. We're now up to $393 on TCG Player, and I will say pretty much every box was up this week except Lost Origin, which was down on TCG Player. And I think Sword and Shield Base was the same price, and that just has to do with there being a lack of sales data. Now, moving on, Darkness Ablaze. This is a $305 box at this point, and I think by the end of 2025, this box could get all the way up to like $350. There really isn't a ton of inventory out there compared to some of these other sets, and the sales volume is actually pretty decent on it. So I wouldn't be surprised if we get close to 350 at this point on Darkness Ablaze by the end of December. Vivid Voltage, same sort of situation. There's obviously a little bit more out there compared to Darkness Ablaze and the earlier Sword and Shield sets, but it's selling at a fairly decent rate compared to pretty much every other Sword and Shield set. I would imagine Vivid Voltage is going to be over $300 by the end of the year. That would not shock me at all. It could even get up to like $320, $330. I think that's entirely possible. Now, moving into the alt art sets, I think that a lot of these alternate art sets have actually taken a step back over the past week. Not in terms of price, because on TCG Player, like I said, Most of them have moved up with the exception of Lost Origin booster boxes, but there is a lot more supply out there for pretty much every set compared to last week, and the sales volume for a lot of them were down, Battle Styles included, but it's still doing its thing. We're getting close to $300. I think it's going to be over 300 by the end of the year for sure. Could even get closer to like 320, 330. I think that's entirely possible. Chilling Reign, this is a set around $575 on TCG Player. I think lowest listed on eBay right now is fairly close to 500 bucks, I'm pretty sure, but that's just one or two boxes. This is something that I expect will probably get close to $650, $700 by the end of the year, just based on what I'm seeing. Evolving Skies, this set is definitely taking a step back. Now it's still moving up. I think it's going to slow down though a little bit. I think it's probably going to be November time, maybe a little bit longer before we see $3,000 sales on this box consistently. I know there are some sales on TCG Player hitting that, same thing with eBay, but there are a lot of boxes listed around like $2,500, $2,600, $2,700, $2,800. So it's going to take a while to chew through that. The one thing to note about Evolving Skies though is that no big store has any amount of inventory up at this point. I think there was maybe like one or two sellers that had two or three boxes, but then every other listing was just for one box. So it's basically in the hands of individual sellers at this point that might want to just drip one or two boxes onto the market at a time and just take some profits, presumably, especially if they bought a lot of their boxes a couple years ago when this was like $500-$600 a box. So moving on, Fusion Strike, another box that's taken a step back. There was a lot more supply out there. I think Fusion Strike actually had the second most amount of boxes listed below a 20% leg up this week behind Vivid Voltage, which is crazy. And a lot of that was coming from just one seller who put up like 5 or 6 cases, I think. So Fusion Strike, I do think it's going to slow down a little bit. But those boxes, most of them were listed on the higher end of the 20% leg up. So maybe it still moves to like 1100, 1150. I'm not exactly sure. The other thing I did want to share with you about Fusion Strike though, because this is something that I hadn't paid attention to in a long time since I did like the last alt art video, and a lot of these cards don't even show up in the top 20. So I knew that the Gengar was on its way back to around $800. The Espeon's still in this range around 3. The Mew VMAX is over 200 now, around 235, but this Mew V alternate art was very surprising to me, sitting around $150 currently, and this has moved over the past month, so I'm sure some of you guys have seen this, but this was the first time I saw it, and it's sitting around $140, $150 at this point, which is crazy because this was like a $50, $60 card for the longest period of time. Now, moving on, we have Brilliant Stars. Out of all the alt art sets, this is probably one of the boxes that I think is going to move the most in the short term in terms of percentage. Not a ton of supply out there. We're sitting around 550 though. I think this like Chilling Reign could get to 650, 700 by the end of the year. In terms of the cards inside of it, not much going on outside of this Arceus, which has made a move up to around 60-ish dollars. And most recent sales are actually over $70, 73, 75, 73, and that's over the past 48 hours or so. This again was a card that was in like that $40, $50 range. Yeah, maybe even like 35 for a very long period of time, and now it's slowly making a move back up. Astral Radiance after that, sitting around $395. So we're getting very close to 400 at this point, which makes sense because there's a ton of Esfera sets at this point moving above Astral Radiance, which I think is ridiculous. When we look at the cards inside, there actually is a lot of value here now. I mean, the Machamp V, not the best top hit, around 150, but the Starmie's over 100. The Origin Form Palkia V, this is now sitting around 80-ish bucks, and this has moved over the past couple weeks. This was a card that for the longest time, again, was like 60-ish dollars, and then before the hype, it was like a $30, $40 card, similar to the Dialga, which is still sitting around 60-ish, so the Palkia has definitely moved up more than the Dialga. After that, we have Lost Origin. Again, this is down a little bit this week, but there has been a pretty sizable amount of boxes that have moved over the past couple days, even up to $900. I think the lowest listed box on eBay is like $730 or something. It has bad shrink wrap, so it's going to take a while before we see consistent sales around $900 on eBay and other marketplaces, but TCG Player will probably get there a little bit quicker. And then finally, Silver Tempest, we're now up to basically $500 on this box. You can see here, most recent sales over the past couple days, $550-ish dollars. When we look at the cards inside of it, the Lugia, the top hit is getting close to like 500 bucks now. I think most recent sale, 475, 475. Both of those were sales yesterday on the 23rd. As you guys know, this is one of my favorite, if not my favorite, alternate art card from the Sword and Shield era. I just love the colors. It looks amazing. And then the final card I did want to touch on, the Rayquaza VMAX Trainer Gallery. We're now up to like almost $150 on this card. You can see here most recent sales from yesterday, a near mint and a light played selling at 150 bucks. So this was a card that for the longest time was like $30, which is insane. $30 for a Rayquaza VMAX Trainer Gallery. It popped up to around 80, stayed there for a long time, and now we've basically doubled again up to around $150. So that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about in this video. You guys let me know in the comment section down below what you think about the Sword and Shield era. Also, if this video gets to 400 likes again, I will shill whatever the top comment is, but let's keep it to Pokemon, okay guys? I'm glad that Derek Peters' mother is getting some action, she's getting some looks, and hopefully we can find her love and find Derek a father. But moving forward, let's keep it on sealed product. With all that said, thank you guys so much for watching the video. Stay safe wherever you are in the world, and I'll catch you in the next one.